Walk through almost any store and you'll face the same question over and over. Should you buy the familiar name brand or save money with the store brand? Sometimes paying more really does get you a better product. Other times, you're mostly paying for a familiar logo, colorful packaging, and a commercial you've seen approximately 700 times. Let's start in the medicine aisle with Tylenol versus store brand acetaminophen. Here's the key fact: acetaminophen isn't a cheaper imitation of Tylenol. Acetaminophen is the active ingredient in Tylenol. So if extra strength Tylenol and a store brand version both contain 500 milligrams of acetaminophen per caplet, you're getting the same pain relieving ingredient at the same strength. The tablets might have different colors, coatings, shapes, or inactive ingredients. But the Tylenol name doesn't add a secret extra painkiller. Over-the-counter medicines are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration and must follow federal requirements covering ingredients, strength, manufacturing, and labeling. That's why the most useful comparison isn't on the front of the box, it's on the drug facts label. There's also some interesting research on this. A study published in the Quarterly Journal of Economics found that pharmacists purchase store-brand headache remedies about 91% of the time. In other words, the people who spend their working lives studying medicine usually aren't paying extra for the fancy box. So unless you prefer the shape, coating, or ease of swallowing Tylenol, store-brand acetaminophen might very well be the better value. Now let's move to food, where things get more subjective and a lot more delicious. Researchers conducted blind taste tests at Mariano's supermarkets comparing Roundy's store-brand products with well-known national brands. The comparisons included Roundy's O's cookies versus Oreos, Roundy's Greek yogurt versus Chobani, and Roundy's Select ice cream versus Breyers. Before the taste test, only about 44% of participants expected to prefer the Roundy's products. But once the packaging was hidden and people actually tasted the food, approximately 72% preferred the store brand option across the categories tested. After the products were revealed, about 84% said they planned to purchase the Roundy's version the next time they shopped in that category. The cookie comparison was especially interesting because Oreos cost approximately 37% more than Roundy's O's during the study. The researchers also tracked what people actually purchased afterward through their loyalty cards. During the first week after the test, participants became much more likely to buy the private label product, with a particularly strong increase in the cookie category. Now, this doesn't prove that Roundy's O's are better than Oreos for every person on Earth. Some people genuinely prefer Oreos, and that's perfectly fine. You're allowed to remain loyal to a sandwich cookie. But the study does show that packaging and brand recognition can influence what we expect something to taste like before we've even tried it. An easy strategy is to conduct your own blind taste test. Put the name brand and store brand on separate plates without revealing which is which. If your family prefers the cheaper version or can't tell the difference, you found an easy way to save money. Finally, let's talk about name brand versus store brand clothing. Clothing is more complicated because two shirts that look similar aren't necessarily made the same way. A more expensive shirt might use thicker material, stronger stitching, a better zipper, more consistent sizing, or better quality control. But the logo alone doesn't guarantee any of those things. One study involving 90 women showed how much labels can influence our judgment. Participants examined and rated a knit shirt, but the researchers changed the label attached to it. Depending on the participant, the shirt appeared to have a designer label, a private store label, or no label at all. The label and the supposed reputation of the store affected how participants judged the shirt, especially its perceived status, even though the garment itself was essentially the same. That doesn't prove that all expensive clothing is overpriced, or that every store brand shirt will last forever. It does show that a recognizable name can influence what we think about a product before we've tested its actual quality. Instead of looking only at the brand, inspect the garment. Check the seams and stitching. Look at the thickness of the fabric. Test the buttons and zippers. Read the fiber content label and washing instructions. Federal Trade Commission rules require most textile clothing to disclose information such as fiber content, country of origin, and the company responsible for marketing the product. Clothing must also include care instructions. For a basic t-shirt, sweatshirt, or pair of casual shorts, a well-made store brand may be the better deal. For something you'll wear constantly, like work shoes, a winter coat, or clothing that needs to survive repeated washing, paying more might make sense when you can identify a real improvement in construction, fit, comfort, or durability. The overall lesson is simple. With name brand versus store brand medicine, compare the drug facts labels. With food, give the store brand a fair taste test. And with clothing, examine the garment instead of automatically trusting the logo. Pay more when you can identify a real benefit. Otherwise, you might not be buying a better product. You might just be buying a more expensive label.